All set, George? Fred?
Yes.
Okay. Let's bring this meeting to order. This is a regular meeting of the Guam Public Utilities Commission. It's 6:40 p.m., April 27th, 2023. First of all commissioners are present this evening. And first order of business is approval of the minutes of the March 30th, 2023 meeting.
Motion to approve, subject to corrections.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Next item is GPA docket 2308, petition for approval of the revision of the GPA line extension policy. We have an ALJ report and a proposed order. Fred.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I attached a copy of the line extension policy. I'll just briefly attempt to explain it. Generally, GPA pays for line extensions, and new customers can, in some cases, they have to pay, either private individuals or government, if the extension exceeds the free length provided in the statute. So if GPA has to extend the extension beyond the delivery point, then the new customer has to pay for that. Right now in the statute, there's a provision that says for up to 5 years, an additional customer can come in and use the line, but then they have to contribute in to the cost. And then at the end of the period, GPA can basically keep what amount has been paid in. So that's just kind of a quick summary of the extension policy. The refunds are made to the original customer that had the line put in. Refunds can be made if the additional customers connect to the line within 5 years. This policy basically, it's what GPA is seeking to modify. So the only real change is they want to change 5 years to 15 years, so that for a period of 15 years, additional customers could come in and be charged for the line. The CCU did approve this proposal to modify the line extension policy, and the purpose was indicated as to allow additional time for existing and future customers who pay the line extension to be partially refunded if additional customers connect to the line extension within the 15-year period. And the CCU then authorized the general manager to obtain legislative approval or PUC approval to change the current line extension policy. So I first looked at the question of GPA's power and authority to amend its rules. And GPA does have broad authority to adopt such rules and regulations as may be necessary for the exercise of the powers and performance of the duties conferred or imposed upon the authority in this article. Now, it's important to note, most entities of the government of Guam have to comply with something called the rulemaking procedures of the administrative procedure or adjudication law. And that's very complex. You basically have to go to the legislature for approval of the rule. If the legislature doesn't act within 90 days, the rule's deemed applied. But fortunately for GPA, and I guess luckily too, in the definition of agency in the administrative adjudication law, GPA is expressly excluded. So that means that GPA can do this pretty much on its own. As I read the petition herein, I believe that GPA has justified the proposed revisions for the line extension policy. And it just basically lengthens the payback period for additional customers. These revisions seem to be reasonable and prudent. New customers benefit in that they can be partially refunded for the cost of the line extension if additional customers connect to the extension within a 15-year period rather than the current 5-year period. These revisions increase the possibility that the new customer will not bear the entire responsibility for the cost of the line extension. I do note, though, that there seems to be a little question, perhaps, about the proper procedure here. I still think GPA will have to do an actual revision of 28 Guam Administrative Rules, Section 3139, Section 4. They're going to have to come up with an actual revision to show that what's referred to in that provision as 5-year periods are changed to 15-year periods. And I think perhaps GPA is already knowledgeable about what they need to do to make the rule effective. I think, well, the PUC doesn't have to get involved in that, but just to point out that they should make sure whatever procedure is required is followed. If it's filing the rule with the Guam legislature or with the compiler of laws, they need to pursue the proper procedure, because the rule has to actually be amended in writing so that members of the public will know that the period has been changed from 5 to 15 years. Based on my review of this matter, I think the proposed revisions to the extension policy are reasonable, and I recommend that the Commission approve the proposed change, and I have submitted an order that would accomplish that end.
Thank you, Fred. Any comments from GPA?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Back in the early days of GPA, when this rule was established, we were only dealing with wooden poles and all the scenario. However, now concrete pole has been in the picture, and one pole line be as much as $8,000 to $10,000 per pole line. So therefore, the revenues and stuff doesn't really offset except perhaps for one pole line. So it kind of, it's really challenging, or it doesn't promote line extensions or those that are further away. So the main focus for this is really to allow customers over a longer period of time to be able to get credit for the line they put in, because believe it or not, there are some customers that wait for the 5 years and then they start putting up building their homes. So what happens that every home that hooks up, for example, the last line is here, the new line to the house is here. So in some cases, I know of a certain one right now, it's about $50,000 to extend that. So for every customer that hooks up along the way, they get reimbursed, like Fred said, the 30-month revenue, estimated 30 months of their estimated revenue, whether it's a house, a commercial, or whatever. And that number is used to offset the whatever that initial customer has put in. In some cases, we work out a reasonable payment plan with our customers, to be able to afford and pay more monthly and all of that. So that again more in the interest to try and get our customers to do the line extension, help them out, because again of all the higher costs. So over time, as more customers build in, they get reimbursed and up to what they have put into the system. So this is something I think that will spurt some growth in some areas out there. Hopefully, maybe it's more land trusts or other areas start thinking about something like this to be able to, put in the money initially, and then more people hook up in the houses, they get reimbursed, because the revenue that's coming in will offset our costs in the longer time. So that's why we we asked to move it to 15 years, and of course the life of the concrete poles are closer to 50 years, but 15 years is manageable and should be a reasonable, seems to be a reasonable number for us.
How much is the cost of a pole again, John?
Pole could be about $5,000 to $7,000, I think now.
Is that a concrete pole?
Yep. Everything we put in now is concrete. So when you add all the lines, the cross arms, again, what we put in cross arms now, we're not buying any more wooden cross arms. We have composite cross arms. And the reason for that is, again, the wooden only lasts for so long. So the cost for a line, one length, which is about 150 feet of extension, is somewhere close to about $10,000.
Okay. Any other questions? Doris?
It's not a question, but more of a comment. I wanted to thank GPA for doing this, as I do agree that this will hopefully spur more customers to build. I do have a friend, she paid quite a bit to extend, because unfortunately she's at the end of the line, not along the line. So she will not, I don't think there'll be any more future customers, but I think for other line extensions, it might, and so I do want to commend GPA for doing this, for offering this for our customers. So thank you.
Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, so John, just real quick, on the, if there was a development that happened, and you extended the line all the way to the development, right? And then, so you're saying that houses along the way that would tap into this line would end up paying back the developer for the lines that he put through?
Yeah, we credit, in other words, for each house that goes there, you get say for example, the 30-month revenue It's 200 a month, no, the base rate 200 times 30 month, that's $6,000, right?
So is this
Numbers are
additional
right,
cost
yeah.
to residents tapping in?
Yeah, so no, so that person puts in the line, for everyone that comes in, there's like a $6,000 credit to that person that put in the line, everyone down the line. So the more customers that come in, then they can offset their costs up to what they paid, so.
Right, okay.
If they're on a
Everybody's
payment
sharing.
plan and they paid only
Sharing the cost.
5,000, then we only give them 5,000 back, no?
Got
And
it.
now,
Okay.
now, there's trying to make other customers pay for this and other, that's a challenge and a half, no? But at least from this type of revenue. You take the risk, you put it in, but at least there's some consolation that as others.
Did you guys get any feedback from the realtor markets, the real estate markets?
Not the, no, I
Anybody have
don't
anything
think
to say
so.
about it?
I think they'll be happy about
Yeah.
this.
I think a lot will be, I know that as we look at out about what's going on out there, case in point, the part of the deal for the Cape Coast Solar Farm was to put distribution lines all around the solar park, so that all those customers now that have properties there, they typically can have just one line extension. But then some customers, no, they unfortunately are not around the solar farm. So it's going to take 50,000 or so to extend. But then there's opportunities for other lots too. So they're going to take the first frac, extend, and then as others come in, they get reimbursed. No? So that's the concept to make the.
Great. Thank you. I ditto Doris's sentiments.
Any other comments?
I just want to make sure, because I know you answered Pierre's question, but I'm not sure if I fully understand. The new customers that tap in, do they have to pay more than they ordinarily pay?
They don't have to pay more as long as they're only a skip away from the home. But if they're from that line and they have to go 2 more poles in, then of course they have to pay the one line, 1 pole extension.
That becomes another 15 years.
That's another 15 years. Whatever they paid is monitored, and most especially we tell them, you monitor, and if you see somebody tapping into your line, make sure that we are aware of it, no? And then we could make the adjustments to the.
You're not passing on not that you're refunding to the original one that paid the extension, you're not passing on the cost of that refund to the new customers.
No, the new customers either get on board free and there's just one extension. We're paying the original, yeah, the original proponent or customer that put in the 50K. That's the one that we're reimbursing.
So the refund comes from the revenues that are going to be generated from that new house with that new meter,
Yeah.
I guess, right, is what they're saying?
Yeah.
They take that.
That's what I was asking, I was going to ask, what's the incentive to have the PPA benefit? It benefits because there's more development.
More customers
more
and
meters,
therefore
more meters
more
are pumped.
meters everywhere.
It's a growth incentive.
Yeah. It provides for growth, and again, growth and a lot of happy customers, a lot of happy community members know that.
We're just asking a lot of questions because it's not typically you come in here trying to give money away.
We're in a state of shock.
We have a responsibility, being the only single utility in the island, to help everyone as much as possible. But again, it's still cost effective. No?
Appreciate it, John. Thanks.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. Next item, GPA docket 2314, petition for contract review and approval for GPA's fuel bulk storage facility. We have an ALJ report and a proposed order. Fred?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to give a brief background, previously from 2017 to September 30, 2022, IP&E Guam was the contractor for the bulk storage facility. And That contract was expiring September 30, 2022. GPA then asked the commission to allow for a procurement of a new PMC for the storage facility. But there was a problem with the bid that went out, and GPA had to rebid the bid for a PMC. And that was in June 2022. It issued a rebid. In the meantime, the PUC had extended the IP&E contract until September 30, 2023. But after the rebid was issued, there were two applicants, which was IP&E Guam and Supreme Group Guam, LLC. And of these two bidders, Supreme Group was the lowest price and the most responsive and responsible bidder. The CCU approved GPA's petitioning the PUC for awarding the contract to Supreme Group LLC. So that's the petition before the PUC now is for PUC approval of the contract with Supreme Group Guam. The total contract amount would be $2,728,321. That's for a 3-year base period on the contract, which would start October 1, 2023. The contract would also allow for 2 one-year option periods. My research into this matter showed that GPA's retention of a performance management contractor for the fuel farm bulk storage facility is essential to the continued functioning and operation of the power system. So I was thinking about this afternoon. If you looked at GPA, probably the control center would be the brain, but the bulk storage facility is kind of like the heart. It's where all the fuel comes from that powers the system, and the pipes through which the fuel passes could be looked as akin to veins in a body in which the blood goes through. So it really shows how essential, I think. I'm always kind of amazed when I look at the bulk storage facility, how important it really is. And so in that respect, without the ongoing supply of fuel, I mean, that the island-wide power system couldn't function at all. Over the years, the PUC's looked at the questions of the contractor for the storage facility many times, and it's always held that this PMC is really essential to the functioning of the island-wide power system. And that's been reinforced in a number of dockets where the PUC has stated that the PMC contributes to the operation of the Capris power plants and is reasonable, prudent, and necessary. In another docket, it was stated the PMC is responsible, prudent, and necessary. So it's always interesting to me that perhaps how vital the fuel farm bulk storage facility is not always thought about too much, but it strikes me it is definitely very, very vital. The PMC has full responsibility for the management and operation of the facility, the pipelines to and from the plants, and the TriStar tie-in. PMC is also responsible for fuel transfer to and from oil tankers and vessels, and from the facility to the various GPA power plants, and to and from the off-site GPA leased tanks. Looking at the cost that Supreme Group has come up with, I think it's definitely reasonable, maybe even less than GPA would have expected. But the projected expenditures here for the 3-year period are $873,547 in year 1, $895,074 in year 2, and $959,699 for year 3. That's again the total of $2,728,321. And this includes all costs for management and administration, staffing, office maintenance, utilities, transportation, communications, management fees, and administration fees, uniform security contractor, the spill response company membership fees, insurance, inventory, environmental, oil spill equipment, and the operation and maintenance budget, which is also reimbursable. So these costs really are pretty much in line as to what the PMC has cost over the last few years. In 2018, it was $765,464. In FY 2021, $799,958. And the anticipated expenditure for FY 2022 was $917,493. So seems to me that Supreme gave a pretty fair and reasonable price determination. The PUC approval of the PMC with Supreme Group is reasonable, prudent, and necessary. Supreme Group was selected as the PMC after a competitive bid, and they did offer the lowest price. It's important to note that Supreme's bid was over $1.7 million less than the bid of IP&E LLC. As to the form of the contract here, basically the PUC has already reviewed this before. When the procurement came before the PUC had looked at the procurement documents and found at that time in docket 22-02 that the procurement documents set forth in detail a description of the fuel farm facility, the technical requirements for the bid, the duties of the performance management contractor, and a draft of the proposed contract. The obligations of the PUC were set forth in a lot of detail, and the Commission has covered those in previous dockets. Also, the PUC determined in that docket that the form of the contract had been utilized since at least 2012, and that the form of the PMC should be adequate to require proper performance by the contractor and to protect the interests of GPA and the ratepayers. The PUC noted numerous contract provisions which protected both GPA and the ratepayers, including warranty provisions, provisions for remediation of defective work, default, termination for convenience, insurance, and indemnity provisions. Based on my review of the petition and the associated documents, I recommend that the PUC approve the contract between GPA and Supreme Group LLC for the management, operation, and maintenance of the fuel bulk storage facility to take effect October 1, 2023. And GPA should be further authorized to expend up to the amount of $2,728,321 for the 3-year base period. Any additional terms or additional years under the option, GPA would come back to the PUC for approval. Again, I've prepared a proposed order for your consideration.
Thank you, Fred. GPA, any comments?
Thank you, and yeah, Fred stated it correctly. It's the pump and that whole, and of course the reservoirs there is where the blood is held. You know? So without that, we're kind of dead in the water. And then, of course, this this PMC process with the tanks has been happening for many years. Even the form that we're using today since 2012, but for as long as I can remember. In 1975, that's when the tanks were built. And so shortly thereafter, that's when we went through the whole process of having it contracted out. because as you heard from Fred, there's so many things, including spill prevention, having equipment ready in case of an oil spill, and all of that. So that's a high risk. High risk that I think a private entity should best be able to do instead of us trying to run it ourselves. We could run it, but again, long term, it's been a successful model, most especially because of the high risk involved. So again, those two tanks will continue. That's going to hold our diesel field because we're going to one field. And you know, we are renovating that. It's a little more backlog. Renovating the first tank will be done about July, and then the second tank next year will be done to make it again compliant and tested and ready for the next 10 years. Every 10 years we have to go in and empty the tank and check the plates and everything like that. So a contract like this, and Supreme does this, you know, all over the world, and also does for the airport authority. So we feel confident that they're able to do this. And the price came in quite well. I think it's within the range of what we talk about. And like Fred said, a substantial savings.
Thank you, John. Any questions from the commissioners? Doris, go ahead.
I think, John, my question was, who is Supreme? Could you elaborate more?
Yeah, they are actually handling the fuel tanks and the fuel to the airport authority. And then their core group handles all over the world, different things. So we even called the airport, and they said, yeah, they're having issues with them. And of course, we'll watch them, but I think they know their stuff. Yeah.
How did they lose? Anything else?
Motion to approve docket 2314.
Thank you, Pete. Second? Pedro seconds. All in favor say aye. The motion carries unanimously. Next item is GPA docket 2315, petition for approval to increase the amount of award for GPA's physical security proof of concept. We have an ALJ report and a proposed order. Fred?
Well, actually, on this one, Mr. Chairman, GPA was not able to submit the petition, so there is no ALJ report or proposed order, but I contacted Ms. Rojas today, and she indicated this matter will be filed and for consideration in the May hearing.
Okay. And Mr. Kim, I always ask you every month, where do we stand on the LEAC?
In March, our under recovery was about $24 million. However, this month we're expecting to be about $17 million under recovery. We did ask the CCU to reduce the LEAC from 31 cents to 24.8 cents. That was approved. Yes, 24.8. The oil price has dropped, and we're hoping that will stay same, and hopefully will be effective from June 1st to January 31st next year.
Very good.
Are we still on track? Are we still on track on bringing down? Remember the under recovery was 47 million.
Yes, last year was.
And we were predicting that by keeping it where we were by July, we'd be at 900,000.
Yes.
Remember?
Yeah, that
Are we
was
still on track for that.
We did change the LEAC effective June 1st. We'll be hovering around $9 million.
Over?
Yeah, or no, under recovery. Yeah. But we wanted to send it earlier to go by. We reduced the LEAC to 24.8 cents. By January, we should be close to zero under recovery. But it's a slow process starting from June 1st.
Right.
Yeah, you're not going to get the big drops like you were.
Yeah, yes.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Just once we get to this single-digit range again, that's a lot more comfortable.
Yes.
Did Guido, the governor, did they extend that $500 a second round?
Programming.
Oh,
yet?
No, not yet. I'm not even sure whether they had a public hearing on it. Of course, we testified for it, but I don't know whether it's on the agenda for the, you know.
On the agenda.
Not yet, but the.
I think the issue is identifying the search department. Because they're gonna try and take it away from DOE. Because DOE wants to spend the money. That's a hot issue.
Isn't it the funding from all the pandemic stuff?
And one more thing, John, how is our new power plant coming along, and how is the movement of all the various components coming along?
I'm happy to say that all the major components are now up at Ukudo. We will not be using the SMPT anymore, Marine Drive, everything
Wow.
else.
That's
So,
quite a project right there.
That's right, and we didn't break any bridges, we didn't break anything. The team that did it well. Huh?
Yeah.
So the project is moving. You know, you're bringing up with the cost and time delay, but again, I can tell you, I can say what it is or what, because I haven't agreed to anything. No? So I'll be working with them on that, but it's still 2024. And I'm pushing them still April. Like, I don't care where your date is, but my date is still April 2024. So we'll see. Because the earlier we say yes to an extension, it seems that a lot of people have short memories. It went from November 2023 to April 2024, and now I don't hear the word November 2023 anymore. Okay? And that's fine, April 2024. But so yeah, well, you know, but the progress is happening. They're really working hard to put it together. I think first fire, from what I saw today, is around early next year, February. So we're first synchronization into the system. Tested it.
Especially with all the 1 and 2 kind of acting up.
Yeah.
Notices that we see some brownouts going on,
Yeah.
some load shedding. So we definitely need this to find up and running as soon as
That's
possible.
good. When 2 base loads are down, we're vulnerable. Then it's especially in the summer. We're trying our best to add more units, repair more units. We're trying to get the GIGO PMC done so that we can have that team help us recover the units there. But again, that's a process. Now we have to go through the AG for all these various things. So we're calling that, you know, I'm not saying much right now because we're sending it over and let's see how fast they can handle what the utility needs. But at some point, I can't hurt but say I holler, no, you gotta help me because otherwise we need to, everything that we do, you know, that's service or cost.
One more thing, John. How's the pipeline coming along?
Well, I mean, there's still areas. I mean, you talk about first we have to worry about whether we have to check everything in Navy property. We got through that. You can have to do some checks, but not like the extent to it. Next, we run into a bomb, unexploded ordnance. So now we're checking the lines ahead of the, you know, and then of course everything that we have to do as a result of the build-up with the military and everything, where everything you put a shovel in the ground, you have to have an archaeologist not telling you how to shovel, but making sure you don't find anything. You know? So, and there's not many archaeologists. So despite all of that, it's still looking like before the end of the year, getting the pipeline done and all of that. The major portion will be coming down Route 16 all the way towards the power plant, because that's going to have to break the road.
Yeah.
They're continuing to work on the others.
Go ahead, Pedro.
Since the generators are reset, I was looking at the output of the expedite on the recurring. Maybe
Yeah. No, you're correct. I am thinking about that. The earlier it's ready, then I can see how I can ask for it when I really need it. No? And ask them to test it at this time.
Sure.
No? So yeah, you're correct. So that's why around the first part of next year, the generators already will be ready to start synchronizing, and the fuel should be there. So
Yeah,
that's
I think you do it that way, you find the ups and downs or holes in the system.
Yeah.
You just kind of time you go down to 100% operational.
Go ahead, Doris.
It's a follow-up to just the chairman's question about the pipeline. I see it every day when I travel out Route 6. So you're saying that that line won't be finished until December?
My understanding is it'll probably be tested and done by December. Some of those will be done before that, of course. They'll be covering it up. Part of the thing is what doesn't help right now is rain, especially in the Nimitz Hill and all that area, because it's not like the north where it just percolates down. So it creates issues for them. But no, those will all be covered by then. It's probably in the next 2 or 3 months, probably.
Right now, where I see it on 680, because like I said, I pass by it every day, it's not more than a mile that has been dug up, and that's been January.
So they're doing various areas. They're doing there. They're also doing right in front of the post office in Barragana.
Oh.
So they're going all different areas doing, and then tying in the lines. So they're taking ones that are cleared for archaeological reasons or other things like that, and avoiding. So the last of the Mahegans will be coming up soon, the real top ones.
So is that the prime contractor that's also doing the pipeline?
Subcontractor of the
And again, just, you're expecting pipeline to be completed by the end of this year.
that's correct. Otherwise, no blood, no no life. So,
Thank you, John.
yeah,
Thanks, everybody from GPA.
thank you.
Oh, Joey, go ahead.
John's done such a great job. And I just wanted to point out, and that is, in March of 2015, John and I stood before you folks, asking for approval of this plan. I don't know if you remember that, March of 2015. And I made a statement, I said, we're not going to raise the base rate. Library said that, we're going to hold you to that. You remember that? Chris?
Yes, I do.
Okay, 8 years later, we have to raise the base rate. And we have no intention of raising the base rate. So you held me to it, said, thank you. Okay? So I just want to point that out also. John's done a great job doing all the work. He's a good general manager. And I want to give him credit also that we've done all this work and we've held the base rate. We haven't raised it in 8 years since I made that commitment. In fact, it hasn't been raised since 2013. But in 2015, I came before you folks and said, we need this power plant. And I said, and I made the commitment that we won't raise the base rate. Fred was very fast. Don't want to hold you there.
Are you running for governor?
No.
Okay.
Joey, I think I requested that promise in blood.
That's like,
So here we are, in 2023, and we still have held our word, and we're gonna keep holding to that word.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Hey, but you know what, don't get in line. Get in line.
as a matter of fact, when it comes to the fuel storage, when they do that every 10 years and do the inspections, make sure that they also check for make sure there's no lines going back to the original tank. Remember those days. We remember those days.
I wasn't around then either. So I don't even know what we made a pledge on. I just wanna make sure we remember that. And I said, we need this power plant. And I said, and I made the commitment that we're, we won't raise the base rate. Fred was very fast. The only one hold you there. So you held me to that. Hey, but you know what, efforts and voting for our president.
We appreciate that, Joey.
The chairman's right and yeah. All- Thank you very much.
That's a good pledge. Thank you, GPA.
Wow, you almost had a quorum for the CCU here this evening. We could have had a double meeting.
That's why I told nobody else. Just my job. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Next item under administrative matters is the fiscal year 2022 citizen-centric report. Lou, are you going to make some comments for us on this? Looks very nice again.
I just tried to design it properly so that it wouldn't look like a Word format. So I hope you guys liked it.
Yes, I do, it's very nice.
Thank you.
My only comment is we have to change that picture at least 2 years in a row.
Which one?
Yes, we
At
need
the
new
port?
pictures.
The one at the port?
Yeah, it's too bad you didn't take the picture when you were at the got to take a picture, that was pretty good.
I'll tell you what, I'll get you set up to climb in and out of one of these 50-foot tall water tanks. We'll take that picture. You'll be all hooked up. That's fun. Any comments, Fred?
I was thinking we should have a record approval.
Sure.
For the citizens.
Okay. Any questions from any of the members, or do you want to just go ahead and approve as is? Looks pretty good. Gabriel makes a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Doris makes a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Unanimous. Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Fred.
Great job, thank you very much.
Next item is review of financial statements as of March 31st, 2023. I think that brings us to the middle of the year, correct, Doris? Okay. Go ahead and make these numbers dance for us.
Oh, I said it.
Okay. Do you want to have any comments at all?
Oh,
Yeah, I have the email.
You have the email, right? Yeah. Okay, well, again, just a few observations. In the balance sheet, everything looks good. Our primary asset is cash. It includes the $50,000 ECD. You folks are a little bit reversed, but I do feel we can still get another 50,000. Rates are expected to go up in May when the Federal Reserve meets. So there might be a slight tick. If you want to do a ladder meeting every 3 months or so, but I would still urge you that the commission that we invest another $50,000 in the ECD because the initial story is that by July, they might consider dropping rates, but then I heard another comment, maybe not because the inflation still has to come down. But right now, it's our schedule to increase again, so it would be good for us to take advantage of that before they get the funds. Because once the Federal Reserve drops the rate, then it's going to really drop precipitously, and we won't be able to take it back. Right now, I think we're earning what, over 4%? 4.3%, yeah. So that'll help offset some of our over expenditure in travel. Boy, the moment I travel, it goes over.
It's okay. We had about 3 years where there was almost no travel at all, so.
Other than that, I think in my email I did it, account for the reasons for the overextended, which is primarily travel and a few money necessary. Overall, we're on track and we're in good shape, and the books are clean. As you notice, assets, we don't have any accounts receivable, accounts payable, we're doing a good job. What in my mind, I'm still trying to figure some residual, you know, but in theory, because that account was supposed to be in and out, there's always been a balance, and that's the only thing that's kind of questioning. How come there's still a balance, and I'm not sure that it would be part of the now. That's the only thing.
Any comments, Lou?
Actually, if there's a balance, there's still outstanding invoices
Yeah, but
that
the
need to be paid.
Yeah, but the outstanding invoices don't amount to that. No.
So there could be monies that need to be reimbursed.
Anyway, it's not a big, you know, the balance, the bank account being balanced, or that's the only thing that it's just, it's not zero. It doesn't come close to zero.
Yeah, looking at it, we could probably put another 30,000.
But, yeah. But it does fluctuate.
Yeah, I think I just talked to Lou briefly about this. We're set up for the first 2 quarters, and if we can do another TCD, we'll do another 100,000 in quarter 3 and quarter 4. So 50,000, yeah. So we'll have 100,000 split in 2 segments of 50,000 for the 3rd and 4th quarters. So then we got the rolling ladder
Right.
through the year.
Yeah.
So,
Gotta have that.
Yeah.
Over time, that is the goal.
so at 50,000 in each quarter, each one of those will produce about 2,000 a year, 8,000 per year for all 4 of them. That's helpful. Make the money work a little
So,
bit.
under the current process, these amounts are actual cash in the bank, or not?
Yeah, I mean, we have over $600,000 in the bank, and our total asset is only $635. Because everything else has been cleaned up, you know, the only thing left is the fixed assets, and that's primarily depreciation. All of our receivables have been, you know, there was some accounts in there in the past that all been cleaned out.
What's also suggested?
It's
Looks like
okay.
you-
Yeah.
versus just sitting there.
Yeah, I think we should take advantage of the rates while we can,
Mhm.
before they drop. And just, what goes up will come down.
Did they fix it this week?
Huh?
Did they fix it?
Well, this is the fix-year term.
Once you heard of it, even if it doesn't work.
It doesn't, it's a fix-year, it's
Yeah.
not a floating term, it's a fix-year,
Yeah.
which is what I wanted, you know, so it hold the rate the whole time.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I think the motion is, we need a motion for the next CCI. I'm not sure if that's, because I had hoped that the chairman could take care of that, but I think he said he wanted the board.
Well, we're going to need a new resolution for Coast
Yeah.
360. So what I'll do for the May agenda, I'll prepare a new resolution. And I can add in the next 50 and then the 2 more in the 3rd and 4th quarters of the month.
I'm fine with what Peter said. Between 75.
So for the next quarter, you want to go 100? Yeah, do 100, sure.
See, and this is why I wanted this one. You want a little back.
Well, you have this all.
Just tell me the amounts you want and I'll prepare the resolution.
Are you suggesting something like 50, 100, 50,
Go for it.
100?
Yeah, I agree with Joe.
100 by when?
May.
Because
What was the first 50?
The first one, oh yeah, what was the date the first one went in? February?
March.
March?
March 28th.
Oh, okay. Right at the end of
it
the
doesn't
quarter.
have to be a full 3 months. but-
No, it doesn't. Yeah, just in the ballpark. If we're taking advantage of rates, you want to focus on the rates rather than the time slot.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the rates are still good.
Right.
There are times that it's going to.
Yeah?
Because we're a government entity, we don't.
Yeah.
And then how about the 3rd and 4th quarters? How much?
We'll look at the rates.
Oh,
then.
you'll wait on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Because if the
If they go down to 1 or 2, then maybe we only want to do 50 in the next quarter
Yeah.
after that.
And-
So we won't even play it by ear.
Okay.
Right.
That's the motion. Mayor, for a second.
Resolution will be proposed in March. The direction is 30,000 in the second one.
Yeah,
No,
C.
there should be-
The original, thought was, in May, another quarter point rise, and then in July, the Fed is going to reduce. But then now, because of inflation hasn't come down as much, it might be in July, they might still raise another quarter point. So that's the one, but definitely in May, it's predicted that it's going to go up another quarter point. Yeah, which is just next month, and I don't exactly know when the Fed is going to meet, but all the talk is it will be a quarter point.
And that's when we should make the purchase, right after the meeting. Yeah. Okay, motion to adjourn, second, all in favor? Okay, thank you, everyone.
So we hope to see you